The PGA is doubling down on pricing, and the story will not go away. And I don't think it's going to go away for an entire season. You have found Quiet Please the Golf Podcast. I am Alan Depew. And as always, our panel, we appreciate you welcoming us into your living room or into your car radio, wherever you happen to be listening to a podcast, or if you're catching our YouTube channel. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Reach over there, give us a subscribe. We'd appreciate a 5. We try to listen to everything you guys respond to us with your comments. Uh, we would like to hear more. So as always, joining us on the panel, my illustrious colleagues and experts in the golf industry, Mr. BE, noted golf teacher as well as author. We made a little foreshadowing there, BE. We're going to talk about an article.
I hope they post it.
Huh?
I hope they post it.
Oh,
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. And as always, he's hailing from Kentucky, Boston Bob. Good to see you, Bobby.
Thank you, AD. I'm mentioning it was a little chilly today, so I thought I might have to put my hat on.
Ooh, very
This
nice.
might happen to be the NBA champions that we did the ring ceremony, and I might have to don the hat. This is a little chilly in here, and maybe I need a little warm up for
Oh,
just put a little, little towel all
For
over.
those of you that may be joining us for the first time, he is known as Boston Bob. He just happens to live in the bourbon country now. That's all.
Well, cheers to that.
Oh, that's foreshadowing for my segue there later. But Bobby, lead article. We're planning a threesome today. A couple of our boys were unable to join us, but I'm glad I actually have my 2 PGA members in here, and I'm myself as a former PGA golf professional. I don't know the look that we're really getting from out of Frisco. I can appreciate the ticket price 110%. It is a high profile event. It is probably on par to, I'm going to catch some heat over this one, but it's probably on par, let's say, to the Super Bowl or some of the other high quality events,
sure.
World Series, things of that nature, people tuning in. But to charge a volunteer $350
Plus tax
plus tax.
and credit card fees.
All right, Bobby, what do you got? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, really, frankly embarrassing as a PGA member, PGA of America. I don't like it. I think, with the corporate sales, with TV sales, with all the other sales going on, I just find it incredulous that, yeah, I know it's New York. I know things are a little more expensive in New York, but my goodness, more than doubling that volunteer package price, more than, I think it's tripling or something, the 750, certainly for the weekends. Just everything about it. The optics look really bad. It's just, I hate it. I just hate it. Doesn't make Brennan and I look good. I mean, as PGA members out there walking around golfers every day, yeah, I've had it questioned to me. Like the comment is, Bob, how can you? How can you? I'm like, I didn't decide on that. But well, you guys. And so it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to have to talk to people about it.
BE, they do get a $20 shirt. I'm sure there's probably a hat included also. That's probably built out of China for probably $1.50. But hey, let's make money on volunteers. That's probably not a good optic to Bobby's point. And I remember back in the day, I'm going to turn the clock way back on this one. Back in the day, I remember that the education department was the big money maker, and that everything in West Palm at that time revolved around the PGA Championship and specifically the Ryder Cup. I'm referring back in the days when it was like Dr. Evil, $1 million. But come on, they built a big, beautiful new home out in Frisco.
Yeah.
It must be New York prices. That's it, New York prices.
Bobby saw Frisco. It's nice, but is it 750 a pop? Nice? I don't know. So here's my take. And we talked about this last week. We talked about it in our text thread. I think one thing that should be noted is what I said in our text thread as far as the volunteers go. It's not a new practice. I think the lay golf fan
Completely agree
should
to you.
know that.
Yep.
It's something that's and Bobby mentioned it in our text thread where this kind of the evolution of this came from. Volunteers pay because they get shirts, they get hats, they get fed sometimes. Um, but I didn't know at the time that we were talking back and forth in our text thread what they paid the previous year. So now I'm like, that's a whole different can of worms. Um, I don't know, like I don't know. There's a lot of thoughts I have going through my head. The optics of it, no good. We had talked about somebody should have got out ahead of this if this was the decision that was going to be made. Um, but it seems like the PGA and Bobby and I are diehard PGA professionals. We love our association. We love the game. So any criticism that we ever have on the show or perhaps something I write, it's for our love of the PGA and not our detest of the PGA. We're different than some of the folks that have beef with the PGA that are PGA members. We just want the way people view the PGA of America to be a little bit on better footing than it has been the last couple of years. And I can't speak for you, Bobby, but I'm just kind of thinking you're in agreement with that.
I mean, for the most part, I'm a second
Yeah.
generation PGA member. My son is now becoming the road to PGA membership. I have an obligation to leave the game and the business better for him and the next generation. So do you. And so I'm very critical of what I see because I worked at headquarters. I know what goes on behind closed doors. Doesn't make me happy about HQ, how they think, how they act. The 29, 30, 31,000, we're still not sure how many. The love I have for fellow PGA pros is, I mean, that's what drives me more than my wariness to HQ, some of the policies, some of what things happen there. And that's like 29, 30, or 31,000 PGA members out there that keep a wary eye to headquarters, to the ivory tower, to the disconnect, to the mistrust, to you just don't walk in our shoes. It's such a uniquely complicated and Alan was in our shoes for many years. It
I was gonna say, hey, I'd like to jump in on this one because that's how we met. We met
yep,
as PGA
yep,
golf professionals in the Mid
yep,
Atlantic section of the PGA. I actually even worked for the PGA briefly
yep.
there in the Mid Atlantic, and I saw firsthand things that bothered me. I like to joke and say I felt it was the biggest magazine or most expensive magazine subscription known to man because our dues went and I didn't see what was coming back from in that at that time back out of Florida, and I gave it up. And I will tell you this: I had two reasons why I gave it up because I didn't see my personal career path. I regret giving up my PGA membership as far as I see people that have have moved. They changed the classifications back. That's when classifications were exploding once and so I'm very regretful in that component that I gave it up. But I also gave it up, B, to your point. I gave it up because I didn't play or I didn't teach. And I think those of us that are lifers in this game, we get into it because of our integrity to the game. My integrity to the game far exceeded the PGA of America. So I didn't
Yep.
play. I didn't play. I didn't teach, and I didn't feel it was my right. I didn't feel it was right to go out there and shoot 88. So there you go. That's all I got to say on
Well,
that.
that's a fair point. And I don't play much at all either.
But you
I,
teach. You
but
are teaching.
but but I see my journey's a little I don't even know if it's different because a lot of people at the point where I made a decision to change my path is usually where people jump off the off ramp and say I'm done. Um, but when I came up, I'm a little bit younger than you guys, still an old guy. So when I was coming up, it was all about being the head pro, director of golf. It was all operational stuff. And I didn't have any fantasy of playing, and I didn't even really think about teaching initially. Um, but I was disenchanted really fast with when I got involved with the PGA, became a member, with a lot of the things I saw. And then the lifestyle, the hours you have to work when you're working in the shop, and then not getting to play. That was something that really broke my heart, to be honest with you. So instead of getting off that off ramp, because I didn't know anything else, this is all I've done since I was 14 years old. I chose a different path. And I think the people in the that are PGA professionals that uh, choose their own path. Bobby's a good example of that too, where we kind of do our own thing. I think those are the ones that become successful. But you've read the articles that Golf Digest had posted about the life of a PGA professional that goes that traditional route. It's brutal, and I can definitely see
and
why you got
you know
out.
what? And you know what? Those people that are listening to the show that have not lived or don't know that, it is brutal. And
Yeah,
I read an article one time that golf pros were second only to doctors in divorce rate.
I believe it.
And I'll tell you how funny is, and then I'll let Bobby respond is I remember standing in the shop at Goose Creek, which is where Bobby and I met, and I'm talking to someone and they said, "When did you last play?" I said, "I haven't played in probably 4 weeks." And a golfer was walking by and the door had it completely shut as he's going out. He goes, "Dude, did you hear that? He works at a golf course. He hasn't played in like 4 weeks." I'm like, but that's the life after you've been there at 3:30 in the morning and you're staying till 7 o'clock at night because that was what was expected back in the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, it's a very, very unique job, career, very, very unique, and there's some really tough jobs in America. There's people listening that have demanding jobs, and everybody's career is where they go. And in this golf space, this uniqueness of being a PGA member, golf course superintendents have it really tough. God forbid they lose the greens and things. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's immense pressure on a superintendent. The other side is PGA members, whatever career path they're in. It's tough. Brendan's teaching a lot. Pressure on him to help people to get better. Take these young kids he's mentoring to get better. He put a lot of trust in him. From the business side, what you and I have done, Alan, a lot of pressure to perform there. So I think, yeah, just that I saw it with my dad. It was in season 7 days. He never made one of my little league games. He would go to some of the hockey games in the winter, but it was it just you do get addicted to the sport, to the game, and there are some beautiful, wonderful things about it. But the volume of hours is tough.
Bobby, I got to ask a question. When's your and Pam's anniversary?
October 1st.
My first marriage was December. BE?
There you go.
What's that? What's the question?
When's your anniversary?
July 15th.
Okay. You must not have been managing a golf course at that point in time.
I was actually. I got one point to add.
Wait a minute, but you were in Florida, so it was the
In Florida, off season.
In all fairness to the industry, in the PGA, there has been a push to make changes, and there has been this concept of the modern coach and doing less in-person stuff and still being able to thrive as an instructor and as a coach. PGA put out PGA.coach, which teaches you about, how to go about structuring your teaching business. And then the work-life balance thing, even on the operational side, it's been addressed. And there is education out there for professionals on what you can do or what you shouldn't do to kind of have a better work-life balance. But the fact remains, it's a sun up to sundown business, and that's a life that we choose. If we don't like it, we have options.
That and to Bobby's point, those superintendents or golf pros alike or managers, whatever the case, that grass does not stop growing because the sun happened to go down.
Yep.
There's stuff still taking place. Irrigation heads may stick on, all kinds of things. And I know there's people out there going, "Woe is you, AD." There, we, but it's the reality. There are tough jobs, and BE foreshadow. There are tougher jobs, or maybe no job. Our boy BE's got maybe an article about to release. We're going to ask you a little teaser. We're going to throw it out there. Mr. Norman, aka Greg, may find himself in a new capacity.
New capacity, yes. Which is different from what I originally thought when the rumors started. Well, shit, there's been rumors on this thing for a long time, but tomorrow I'm writing a story as we speak. Tonight I'm in the middle of it. That's hopefully they'll post it tomorrow on Golf WRX. Um, about my thoughts on the whole Norman thing. And, it was interesting as I'm writing this, I'm thinking about the pitfalls that a lot of people fall into that have name recognition for doing one thing. And they're like, oh, they would be a great person to, now that they're in their later years and don't play anymore, would be a great person to open this golf academy for their namesake or be a CEO of a company. But just because you were successful in one thing does not mean that you're going to be successful in something else. I think Norman, I was a Norman fan when he was playing. Uh, a lot of people were fans of Greg Norman, but I think having him at the helm of this LIV thing it's been to the detriment of LIV and not to the positive. Maybe he got some of the guys to come over because of who he was, but he doesn't have the type of skills that a CEO should have. Uh, it's just been obvious throughout his tenure. So he's not getting kicked to the curb. He's just, from what I'm reading, just being demoted and probably in more of a figurehead type of situation where he probably should have been from the start, not a decision maker, not someone that's out in front talking on things. Because there's a ton of animosity there between him and the PGA Tour. Because for those that know, he tried to do this a long time ago too, and there's been a lot of animosity over the years.
Bobby?
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering if maybe Norman wasn't the person picked to do what he did for a short amount of time, like a fuse, and that the fuse is used up. He did what he was supposed to do. To your point, B, yeah, he's not the traditional role, probably can't fill the CEO role for length of time. But I still go back to comments I made many, many times. Like, unfortunately, he was the wrong person at that time that either him or Jay Monahan could have picked up the phone and said, "Hey, what's up?" And maybe could have gone around all of this stuff. But Norman is Norman. Went right to "I hate you, you're dead." So I think hopefully this can help things moving forward. Maybe he was potentially the right guy to stir it up. Potentially the right guy. Not that that was good. Potentially the right guy to be able to pull these other players over. And maybe that's what his excellency, what's the name? Yasser. Maybe that's what he wants.
Yeah. The Crown
And
Prince.
then
Is he a Crown Prince?
I don't know.
I don't know either. But anyway, yeah, I mean, Greg, yeah, you have two types of way this I think could have gone. Is Greg had an axe to grind. And that's
Yes.
either going to motivate somebody to make something. I mean, people get shot down. I mean, look, you hear all the business success stories of FedEx and whatever the case may be, where they got shot down in college, and look at what they look. Oh, look at me now, you know. But I don't think that was Greg's case. I think Greg just wanted to burn down the establishment,
Yes. Yep.
as opposed to building up a new and exciting way to um, take in the game. And maybe there's some things that he did that are great. There's some concepts maybe of LIV. I completely disagree with shotguns, and I could even live with the 54 holes. I really could.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just think it was the wrong guy at the wrong time.
Yep.
Yep. However, And we're gonna let B go ahead. And then I gotta segue into the next component of that. So to finish off, you're putting this article out.
Putting it out tomorrow. And what this is, it's I do three different series of articles with Golf WRX. Tuesdays I do tip. Thursdays I talk about the good in the game. Like today I talked about the DP World Tours, the tour that they created for those with disabilities. A lot of good stories coming out of that. So that was the good. And then on Fridays, after I talk about the good on Thursday, I get a little bit critical on some of the things that are happening in the game. And tomorrow I'm talking about Mr. Norman.
B's freewheeling. I love it. So
He's fine.
Battle League maybe stubbed his toe. Bobby, reimagining golf, Mr. Reimagine Golf. The TGL kicks off January 7th. Is that going to be successful because it is Tiger and Rory without an axe to grind, and it's inside a bubble, and it's high tech, and it's team golf in the off season, 2 hour increments, 2 hours show window on the weekends, prime time, whenever. I don't even know when they're showing it, but you think that's got the makings of good?
Oh boy,
Made
nobody loves it.
made
Nobody
for
loves.
TV.
Yeah, nobody loves innovation more than me. I'm still trying to figure out the longevity of this thing. Hopefully, it could work. I think people are going to be so curious they're going to tune in, and then you always wonder what's the sustainability? Is this going to keep people's attention? And you can look at Top Golf. I mean, Top Golf in the beginning, if you want, this might be a stretch, but very unique, very different, very innovative, and people were clamoring to get in. And even at the height of it, still you could get out there weekday mornings, but yeah, Friday and Saturdays pretty packed. But lately, you look at the financials and that Callaway split with Top Golf lately tells a lot. And so I don't know. This is going to be really interesting. I'm still on the fence.
Brennan?
So, people might think we're talking out of both sides of our mouth here because we're poo-pooing something that was new and innovative with Live, but that goes back to what we were talking about, the way that that was presented and the way that there was animosity in that. We talk about all the time on the show the beauty of alternative golf courses and short courses and how that's needed in the game and the success that we've seen with off-course golfers coming in and then kind of trickling into going out to the real golf course. I think this this project that Tiger and Rory and everybody else that's part of it, I think it's going to be successful. Bob's right. The longevity question, anytime there's anything new that comes into a very old and traditional sport like golf, that's always up for debate. Um, but I can say this, at least I'm hopeful that this will be successful. I know I'm going to enjoy watching it because it's the players that, when they're in the field in a regular tour event, they get the large crowds and then get the viewership on TV. So because you have that group of players in there and it's going to be fun and interactive, I think it'll be successful.
I think that it is going to go the way of and if it goes this long, that's a great thing. It'll be like the Skins game. It's a made for TV event. It's going to have a good run. You know, I always say it with golf, like charity golf outings at a golf course, 7 years. There's always usually a 7 year window that they go and then they start to fizzle out. I think this will have a fizzle out effect, but I do think the fact that there's so much technology involved, and look at how many kids are being handed iPads to sit in the back seat of a car while they're driving someplace. So they're all techies nowadays. Um, they're probably actually going to wonder why they can't hit some kind of cheat code and be able to play, have Tiger hit a shot for them or something. So uh, I'm, of course, I'm going to tune in, but will it last? I'm going to make one comment, and I'd love to have someone from their company come on right now and talk to us about it. I see Top Golf, and I'm going to spin this to both of you guys. I'm seeing all these properties. I'm in commercial real estate, as you know, and there's Top Golf locations up for sale everywhere. Now they're selling the ground leases.
Mm.
Okay. You got to understand the components here. The selling the ground lease, and it's a sustainable for an investor, sustainable. Um, do you feel, whichever one of you want to take it first, is Top Golf cooling off?
I believe it is.
I think it is as well.
It's still hard to get a bay on the weekend. So I don't know. Is it cooling off from its peak? Absolutely. But it's still a draw on the weekends, Friday, Saturday nights, especially Sunday afternoons. Um, but are their financials not as strong? Absolutely. I mean, Callaway wouldn't have pulled out if that wasn't the case,
Well, I'll give you an example, and I don't know how many are down next to you, either one of you guys. Bobby, I don't think there's too many out in Kentucky.
One.
Louisville has one.
They
Yeah.
opened Edison here in Jersey. Only one anybody could get to. Actually, at the time, I believe it was the furthest one north. They opened Mount Laurel not long after that. Um, so now I could go 45 minutes from where I live and across the border in PA. You pretty much actually even less than that to Mount Laurel. And I'm at two locations. And what do? They turn around and put one in Northeast Philly, almost directly across the river from Mount Laurel. And now they just put another one out in Valley Forge. You've got four of them that I could be to in no more than probably 45 minutes to 50 minutes. I don't know if there's that. It's a classic. Did you oversaturate the market?
Yeah,
Right.
we've got two, right. There's one in Orlando by the attractions. I'm sure you guys from the
Sure.
PGA show have been down to that one. And there's one in
Is that
Lake
the one
Mary.
on International Drive?
Yep, yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think Pop Stroke has more longevity because it's a remake on something that's old. Putt Putt's been around forever, and it's a good introductory. People might laugh at me saying this, but it's a good introductory into the game for a lot of people and has for God, I don't even know, since the 50s probably.
Oh,
But maybe
yeah.
Oh,
so Pop Stroke is fun. I mean, not that Top Golf isn't fun, but Pop Stroke is a lot of fun. We've got one here in Orlando. They just opened one in Daytona Beach. Um, I think that's got a little bit more staying power than Top Golf has had.
yeah. It's funny. Top Golf is now becoming more like a golf club in many regards. They're busy on the
Yes.
weekends, trying to get played during the week, running specials, whatever. Just
Yep.
kind of funny. I remember, Alan, we were in the Mid Atlantic. I was working for Dean Beeman at Cannon Ridge. I get a phone call one day from this PGA member, and oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. Shoot. And he goes, "Hey, I want you to come and see this new thing we started. It's gonna be called Top Golf. It's at a driving range in Alexandria, the first one in America."
Yeah.
And I went up there and I was like, "This is pretty cool. This is really neat. That's amazing. There's something in the ball. It was pretty really fascinating." I thought, "Oh, is this going to be the only one?" I didn't put much thought into it. Looking back, anyways, yeah. I mean, the pop strokes, the putting thing, those are a lot of fun. I mean, you do have some historical relevancy there of that. Hey, that's been around a long time. Innovation, technology, making it what it is. I did the one at Port St. Lucie. It's hard, really hard.
Yeah.
It was not the old. If Jeff Babineau was with us, the Hago Harrington miniature golf on Route One in Stoneham, Mass. It's not Hago Harrington's.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think it's cooling. It's going to be interesting to see the longevity of it. It's going to be interesting to see what happens now that Callaway's parting ways. It could be like, I hate to say, maybe it's the end of the season, or maybe we could talk about the end of the season of the PGA Tour because got a lot going on there. Be
Yeah. Zozo this week. It's funny that I love the Zozo. I think the club that they play there in Japan is amazing. And there were some good storylines. A lot of people say this fall series, it's a lot of quote unquote no-namers. I don't think personally that there's a no-namer on the PGA Tour because they're all class act golfers and players. But now we've got Colin Morikawa and Xander Schauffele and a lot of the Gala, a lot of the big guns are playing this week. but they did not have a good first round at the Zozo.
No.
Xander, I think, is a couple over par.
Did you see what he did? I happened to walk through our restaurant when he was whiffing, trying to punch the ball by the
Yep.
tree.
Yep.
Wow.
When you see pros do that, you feel good about your status in the game of golf. Makes you
That
feel
was
good.
crazy.
Yeah. But he was my pick, and I think I'm glad I don't bet anymore because I would have been out quite a bit of money after the first day.
B, did you go 1-800-GAMBLER?
I quit cold turkey, man.
Attaboy.
You know why? Because I opened my mouth and said, this is like shooting fish in a barrel when I was on the streak. And then I lost like 4 weeks in a row. I said, I am done with this.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. Between you and Christian, the other three of us were thinking we might need to have an intervention.
Yeah.
You guys were on a roll for a while
You
there.
guys were in fuego.
Yep. Not anymore.
Hey, Bobby, Joel Damon, the people's champion, right? He's on the bubble.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
there is a lot on the line for some of these guys this week.
Yeah, I mean, take him, Joel, for an example. I hope he plays well. He's one of the personalities that's great on the tour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to B's point, so much talent. It's micro thin from different segments from bottom to middle to top. But I love it when there's a Joel Damon out there. I love it when there's personalities and the Max Homas that come along in social media. Just it makes it better out there. Not everybody's Trevino or John Daly, but just I wish everybody would just open up a little more. It's like, geez, I mean, I know you're playing for a lot of money, but I don't know. It just would be nice to have a little more personalities, a little more. I think people root for that. The term robotic on tour is something that's been around for many years. I just remember that years ago. And maybe it's because the swings are so much better and they all look alike, where 30, 40, 50 years ago, a lot of idiosyncrasies with swings out there.
Swing
You
your
mentioned
swing, right,
Trevino.
Brendan?
He mentioned Trevino. Did you guys see what Trevino said? I think it was yesterday or today about Nicholas. Did you guys
No,
catch that?
I
no.
didn't see.
He said in the press conference, I'm not sure what the Champions Tour event is this week, but he was talking about Nicholas and how he didn't play much. He played 6 or 8 times a year. And Trevino said he played all the time. And he told Barbara, for each event that you could keep Jack home, I'll send you a dozen roses. And he remembers one season when he played in 38 events and Jack played in 8. So he sent Barbara 30 dozen roses that season. But those are the personalities that really made the game what it is today back then during those times.
Well, I did see part of his press conference. I think it was 1971. He won seven tournaments, and he finished top 10 in a whole bunch of others. His total gross winnings were 153,000.
It's a shame, man. It's a shame.
I mean, and then he talked about sort of chasing the money to play a ball or some clubs that he knew really might not be the best, but they're going to pay him more.
Right.
It's so different now. I mean, so you make it on tour and you finish like what 57th in some events, you make 150,000 in one of the greatest ever. I mean, it's so out of whack. You can't go buy money anymore. Who the best? I mean, that ship sailed a long time ago.
Oh, yeah, it's not even remotely relevant.
No.
But I mean, you look at Netflix, what they've done for the game with Full Swing. That's where we're finally starting to see those personalities. The PGA Tour probably still is kind of clamping down on these guys doing what Bryson did, and we've talked about that multiple times of having the YouTube channels and stuff. But
And
people want that.
to bring this back, that's one of the things that you could say regarding Norman and LIV. A positive that has come out of LIV is
Yes.
we've been able to peel the onion on some of these guys and see their personalities. And I'll keep, there's those defining moments. I hate to pick on him, but I think it's Davis Love. I mean, I think he became the beginning of the robotic golfer.
Yeah.
you're supposed to act this way. You're supposed to be stoic. You're supposed to be, up until that point, I mean, no.
Yeah, before I forget, I got to make one point. The skins game. I've been saying this for I don't know how many years. I think if the players put up their own money, skins game becomes a blast to watch.
Oh,
Don't put up
absolutely.
sponsor. Don't put up sponsor money. Get four guys, two women. I don't, whatever the mix is. Put up. Everyone puts up quite a bit of money. I think you find a way that that money could go to charities, but still, for somebody to play for their own money or a portion go to charity. But the idea of like you're playing for house money and yeah, it'd be great to win 500,000, but golfers all around the country,
Yeah,
we have all done.
let him make
You
it.
play for.
Go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
No, well, I mean, the idea, even if it's $2, $5 skins, you're always playing for your own money. I know tour players will have side bets, side games through the week. They're playing for some serious money. Mickelson, we know, is playing for some really serious money. Put that on TV. That would make me watch more than you're playing for the sponsor money. And you're right, exactly. Now that was kind of fun for a couple of few years, and then it jumped the shark, as they say. But I've said this for a long time. Get some of those players, put up their own money. Yeah, you might win $1 million. Let's go.
They could even make it back on give them some piece of the revenue share on the TV. Right? If TV pulls in X, you get Y to get it back. And if it doesn't, guess what? You put up your own money. You play it for
Yeah.
your own cash.
They got it, so
Yeah, I think Scheffler's got plenty of it right now. Hell, Teddy Bishop, he could be playing for it. All right, B. I got another news story for you. I'm going to go there. I'm pushing the chips in the middle. Okay.
Let's go.
There is news. I personally, I'm going to preference this by saying that the LPGA, I think, has a challenge, and I think much of female athletics are facing that same challenge right now. And for those of you that are not aware, and let me just go to, I want to make sure I get this right. Haley Davidson's attempt to earn her LPGA card encountered a setback when the 30-year-old shot six over in the first stage of the LPGA. Uh, Haley Davidson, for those of you who aren't listening, don't know, is a transgender golfer who's amid scrutiny and surrounding the tour's player policy. So I think the LPGA needs to take a stand on this topic as to where they stand and I will give you my opinion. My opinion is I think they need to take a stand in preserving the integrity of the game for female athletes. Haley maybe will not be successful this year, but in the future, you may have another transgender golfer that will come along and will hit it further, score better, whatever the case may be. And all the accolades, to your point, Bobby, in a similar yet different comparison, you have a Lee Trevino and a Nicholas and what have you, their records are just going to be obliterated. What say you, gentlemen? BE?
so I'll jump in here. I tried to stay away from the political and put my stuff out there.
Well, it's the political season, B, so we're
and I get that. I'll get that. I was supposed to go vote today and I didn't.
I did. It was an hour yesterday here in Pennsylvania.
I have zero problem with, with transgender, the whole movement of making things more accessible for them or people not looking at what they go through.
I agree.
When it comes, and I think that's where the problem in our country is when we have topics like this. It's not the fact that it's a transgender person. People have their opinions about that. I don't have any issue with that part of it, but it's the idea of when someone was born one way and then they have something in their life that makes them think, hey, this is not what I feel, and they make that change. I'm all for that, 100%. But when you come to athletics, like there has to be something to keep it fair for everybody that plays that sport. There has to be. And I have, and again, I cannot stress enough that it's not the personal struggle, the journey that that person's going on. That's has no bearing on me and my feelings towards that. It's just leveling the playing field for the female athletes.
It's again, it's the to me, it's the integrity of the game. We mentioned that with just in golf in general, but and if everybody wants to assign your views, or are you Democrat, are you this, are you Republican, or that, or whatever the case, I'm actually very libertarian. To each his own, and I believe everybody should have that. But Bobby, would you believe? I mean, hopefully I don't get hate mail about this. If LeBron James decided to go transgender and play in the WNBA against Caitlin Clark, I mean, is that a level playing field?
Correct. Yeah, PE summed it up really nicely.
PE sums everything up nicely. That's why he's such a good writer.
It's always strikes me that whenever this comes up, this transgender thing, it is always, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it's always the male transgender to female looking to get into that female sport. And that's what makes the news. I honest to God, I was sitting there trying to think if I heard of the other way around, a female at birth, transgender. I don't know. It's always sort of this way where there's male transgender, and it has to do with sports. And yeah, I guess to each his own, daily journey in life. Do what you have to in life. I mean, things like that. But when it does come to the athletic playing field, I mean, scientifically and things I've read, and the eye test, it's like it's not fair. It's not. It's an unequal playing field. The integrity is gone. It's interesting with golf. Is such a unique sport. You could be LeBron with the transgender trying to make the LPGA tour, but golf is golf. It is tricky, but I don't know. The LPGA, I think it was 275 women signed the one letter that they need to change this. It's since 2010. They have not had at birth as far as gender. So I think the LPGA really has to look at this, and I would think the LPGA would want to say, to your point, it's got to be a level playing field. It should be all females at birth playing against each other. But whoever has their walks in life and needs to make a change, good for them.
BM, will jump back in again. Both of you are great instructors of the game. No matter how many the science of a transition involves, there is still the natural muscle component of being a male at birth competing against. You're going to be physically stronger. It's just I got to believe it's physical. And to Bobby's point, you don't see that taking place in transitions female to male. Do you agree with that in that sense that it is an unfair advantage?
I don't know all the nuances of what going through the change entails, but I know that there's the introduction of different hormones to make the person feel more like the sex that they wish to be. But you'd have to think, and again, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but you'd have to think if someone was born with testosterone as a male, that regardless of how they go about medically making this change for someone, you have to think, and I could be wrong. I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong about something.
I agree. Same.
You have to think that that person is going to be stronger. I mean, and in a sport like golf, would that really? I don't know if it would matter all that much, to be honest with you, because you still got to put the golf ball in the hole, So to me, that's not the bigger issue. It's having this gray area is the big issue, and not having a definition of how that professional sports organization wants to address this particular topic. That's where more of the problem is, in my opinion.
I concur. So we went there, we brought it up. It's in the news right now. Interested in hearing your respectful comments when we put this out there, because I think it's something the LPGA needs to address without question. On that note, Bobby, we'll bring it to the 18th green. What you got? Final thoughts.
Well, I think I'll sub in for our Christian, our prettiest podcaster, with what he usually says, because it is true. The next couple of weeks, 2, 3 weeks, we've got a really strong guest schedule coming up, so you don't want to miss some of what's happening coming up the next couple of few weeks. We've got some pretty big guests coming on. We're leaving a little bit in suspense. Now, I did see a story this year, or no, this week of a lot of things happen on a golf course. Usually people say, I hit an amazing shot, or a tour player hit an amazing shot, or wow, a heroic shot, a heroic save, a Bryson DeChambeau bunker save, how heroic. But this week there was a team that was every sense of the word heroic. He saved his dad's life with CPR on the golf course from a heart attack. When you read stories like that, I mean, if it's a stranger and you're saving them, that's one thing. But this teenager saves his dad's life performing CPR. That's a heroic act on a golf course right there.
Kudos to him. Absolutely. BE?
I want to close on mentioning an article that I put out today on Golf WRX. I had mentioned about the good things, and Thursdays for me to talk about the good things within our game. And shame on me for not knowing this sooner, but what the DP World Tour has done, and the PGA Tour had an event at the CJ Cup with the G4D Tour, which is golf for the disabled. It's fascinating. I watched that South African win last week, and he shot 7 under par, autistic gentleman, but they have different categories for whatever the disability may be. And, disability aside, these people can play, man. It's pretty inspiring to see amputees and developmentally challenged folks, or folks with Down syndrome or autism. Like, it's fascinating to see these folks playing the golf that they're playing. So, I think this started in 2022 what the DP World Tour is doing. I think there's 6 events on the schedule this year. But check that article out on Golf WRX. It talks about this. I talk a little bit about what I've done with special needs in golf, and what I've noticed from the standpoint of youth uh, that have special needs, introducing them to the game. It's a game changer, man, for a lot of these kids, because they don't really have anything else that kind of resonates. And golf, just for some strange reason, just speaks to a lot of people that have challenges. So that's one of the good things that I talked about this week in that segment.
So I'm going to do something unusual. I'm not going to have a close, because there's nothing better than that. What you just dropped on everybody right there. So,
Thank you.
folks, have fun, play golf, get out there, support your PGA Golf Pro, support the Boston Celtics. We'll talk to you next week.
Go Yankees.